Okay, here we
All
go.
right. Are we recording? We are recording.
Recording.
Watch this.
Okay, so it is good evening or good day or whatever day it is that you're watching this. This is Chaya Parkoff with Rachel Burnham, and we're here for our monthly practical Chidduch and Shidduchim webinar. Take 2 for February because we did it last week, and
I have one when you can have 2.
Right, exactly. We did messed up something with the recording. Hashem wanted us to re-record, I guess. So we're here tonight, and I think we're just gonna. I printed out actually the questions.
Look at you.
Some questions. So that just for those of you that are new, this is a webinar that we have been doing. We did once, and it got people asked us if we would continue to do it. And so, because
we did it twice. Didn't we do it twice?
We did it. This was our third time. This is our third time, right? So, I think what it's doing is providing an outlet for us to have a discussion that a lot of people aren't having, or questions that they have, whether they're a single person wanting to get married and they have questions, or they're the mother of kids in Shidduchim and they have questions. And so we're just asking the questions that lots of people are thinking about. I'm just going to make sure that people are muted here. So I'm going to just hang on a second. How do I do that? You may be in, let's see. Oh, you know what, Rachel, you're in charge. So you have to.
I'm in charge. What do I need to do?
So if you go down to where it says participants, then click on it, and then you can
mute all.
Mute all. Don't mute me. So,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So then, just so that people don't, and then people can raise their hand if they want to ask a question. So.
Okay. Mute. Okay, I'm going to leave you and I on.
Yep.
Alrighty.
Alrighty.
Let's go for it.
And then there's a chat feature.
Okay.
So you can chat. People can chat a question if they have.
Okay.
And we're gonna go from here. I'm just gonna do one.
Yeah. Let's get started.
Okay. Okay. So. Okay, I'm gonna start with a really doozy of a question. Okay.
Okay. Go for it.
Actually, this question, this happened to me. This is the question I sent you. Okay. This is like, we're just coming out of the gates.
There we go.
Okay. Tell it like it is. So I sent a resume of a girl that I know to a young man that I know. And there we go. And I sent him the resume, and he asked for some pictures, and I sent the pictures, and this is a larger girl, and he's a larger guy, actually. And so he looked at the resume, and then he said, can you have a picture? And I sent some really pretty pictures, and then he said, it's not for me. And so I said, it's something like, she's not for me, or something like that. And I said, what a shame. That was my response. What a shame. And this was his response. And he's a very nice boy, and he was very respectful, but he said, it's a hard truth I had to learn the hard way. I've lost 50 pounds so far. So the hard truth is that no one wants to date bigger people. I weighed 336 pounds, and I realized I had to make a change. Now I weigh 285, and I am still losing weight. Losing weight is the toughest battle I've ever faced, but it's absolutely necessary to get married. And I was curious what your thoughts are.
Well, what is the question?
I guess the question is that the truth? Should people be trying to, whether they're a boy or a girl, trying to do something about their weight? We know that externals play a role in attraction. Listen, I had an eating disorder when I was younger. So wanting to look, wanting to fit the mold and look good. And so I understand that side of it, that that's not healthy to go in that direction. I also know it's not healthy to be unhealthily overweight. You know, there's a lot of struggle. I also know a woman who lost 85 pounds before she got married, and then gained 150 pounds, right? So I guess I just want to open the conversation for like, what is the conversation around this? And what should my response to be for this? I said to him, thank you for your honesty as to how he was. Should I reprimand him? Well, you know, you shouldn't judge a person by their outsides, or they could lose weight and then they can gain it. You know, I guess there's a lot of questions in there, and I just wanted to throw it out to you because it was a reality check for me of what's really going on.
This is actually one of my upcoming articles that's going to be coming out about looks, somehow tied into Purim, which is kind of going to be kind of like, you know, the beauty pageant 2019 is a reality today. Something along those lines. I haven't completely put it all together yet, but this is a really big topic, and I just want to kind of touch on a few parts of it because I don't think we're going to have enough time to cover the entire topic, but just to bring a few points to light. So first of all, very often I'll have a girl or a guy say to me directly, they'll send me a picture and they'll say, do you think I'm heavy? Do you think I'm fat? Literally, they'll say that to me directly. And my answer to that is, before I even attempt to think about that or answer that, are you confident in the way that you present on a date to a Shidduchim, to the world? Mm-hmm. Because if you're not confident in the way that you present, you are not going to act and present yourself in the most optimum light. And that's not going to be good for your dating at all. So if you tell me that at your weight, you are as confident as you need to be, you are happier how you look, you're happy how you present, and you feel that you can attract the best mate possible, then I don't know that there's anything that I'm going to be able to tell you that's going to change that reality for you. And maybe you want to lose weight on your own, and that's fine. And maybe life will be its own teacher to realize that maybe there'll be enough guys that don't want to go out with you, or girls that you'll say, you know what, I think I need to take matters into my own hands, which is what this guy seems to have been doing, and there's something, you know, impressive about that. But for someone to be their optimum confidence, they need to know, you know, I feel like if I lost 25 pounds, I would really be feeling much more confident. Or maybe they need to lose 80, but they feel that 25 would do the trick. And sometimes tasting a little bit of success will encourage them to move forward and lose a little bit more than they have to. Now, it's not all about weight. It really isn't. There are glamorous girls out there who are not married. I will just speak for myself that I was a size 0 when I was dating, and I'm still very thin. And I had many, many dates, and I still got married at 34 and couldn't find the right one. Whereas I had a sister who was probably 4 times or 5 times my size, and she got married at 25 to a guy, by the way, who was spectacular. Our brother-in-law was very spectacular. He did not like thin women. He did not. Yeah. He found them to look scrawny and kind of skeletal looking, and he wanted like a woman. Right. And my sister's beautiful, and they're happily married. So, you know, everyone's got the right one for them. All we could do is try our best, and that kind of goes with anything. We can all try our styles. We can do our best. But what's more important is making sure that you are confident, positive, happy, and comfortable within yourself, because that is how you're going to present best. And so I do feel that sometimes life is the best teacher, and some girls have to go against a lot of no's until they realize that a certain level of looks does matter. And it's not just all about weight, but it's about makeup and putting your hair together and putting on a pair of heels. And is it all about externals? It is not all about externals. But the way I explain it to girls who seem to really, and women who seem to struggle, well, young single girls struggle with this more than women, because a married woman understands a lot more. Mm-hmm. But the way
things aren't going to look the way they used to look.
They aren't, but a married woman understands what's important in a relationship.
The bigger picture.
The bigger picture, exactly. So the way I explain it to a lot of girls is, when you go to look at that house, you know, it could be a mansion inside, but if the bushes are overgrown and the hedges aren't cut and the house isn't painted and there's cobwebs growing all over the place with ivy, you know, it's not so inviting. And therefore, even if it's a mansion inside, people don't necessarily want to even get past the front door. And we need them to get past the front door to see that beautiful mansion inside. And so it's not that a guy is only interested in the externals. He isn't. But in order to kind of get him interested in getting to know the rest of the person, we have to kind of move past that front door. That's A. B, and here are some harsh realities that a girl might not want to hear. If you're saying that you want a really good quality boy, you want someone who focuses on his learning, you want someone who's not going to look at other women, you want someone who's careful about Shmir Seinayim, these are things that you want in a quality from a boy, that means that you want him to have eyes only for you. And that means if he has eyes only for you, he needs to like what he sees, because if he doesn't, we don't want him looking elsewhere. And so if a boy says, and I think we might have mentioned this once before, if a boy says, this look is not for me, this picture is not for me, I don't know the point in fighting it, because you're going to force him to go out with a girl that he's not attracted to, and then he's going to be not present on the date. She's going to feel uncomfortable and feel like he's doing her some kind of favor. You don't want him to go marry a girl just because the shadchan said, and then be kind of looking at all her friends that are at the wedding. I mean, you don't want a guy to be doing that. He gets one woman in his life. And so on a certain level, he does deserve to feel that that one woman is beautiful, chen be'einecha. And that's a personal thing, which is why Hashem gave us a gift that every person has a different look that works for them, because, if there was only one look, everyone would only be going after that. But some people like, fuller figure women, some people smaller and darker and lighter and taller and shorter. And it kind of is great because it meets multiple different people's needs. And so I think that it's important for a woman to understand that you don't want to go out with someone who doesn't find you attractive. And the reason why boys get hung up on this is because they want to be very loyal and they don't want to look elsewhere, but they want to find their wife attractive. And I don't think that in the context of a tzniistic, appropriate framework, that is a bad thing. And I wish we would stop judging our boys by it, because it's not fair to them. Sometimes these pictures are turned on by their mothers. It's not always even them. And sometimes all they really want is to keep their eyes on one wife, but they just want to like what they see for that woman that they're going to spend the rest of their life with, being loyal to just her. The second point is that in every relationship, there's this like unsaid agreement. I have certain needs that I want you to fulfill, and you have certain needs that you want me to fulfill. Right? So the unsaid need that a woman has that she wants fulfilled, she won't say this on a date, but she wants that emotional connection. I want you to listen to me. I want you to be emotionally present, and I want you to be emotionally aware. And, if I had a hard day at work, I want you to really be supportive and understanding and listen to me go on and on and on, right? Without judgment. And don't tell me how to fix it. Just listen, right? And so for a guy, it's not natural for him to talk about feelings and the communication and the relationship. These are not skills that come naturally to a guy, yet that is what a woman wants. And we are asking a man to stretch outside of his comfort zone to do that. And many men do that in relationships and in marriage. After looking at a man over 20, 30 years of marriage, you will see from the day he got married till today, he has changed considerably. He is in tune with his wife, and he just takes one look at her and he knows what her mood is and what she's feeling and what she needs at that moment. Does she need chocolate? Does she need a nap? Does she need some space? Does she need, connection? So he's learned. And that's kind of the unsaid expectation that a woman is looking for. She's looking for that emotional kind of connection and best friend. But what a man is looking for, that unsaid thing that he is looking for, is a physical relationship. Hashem made him that way. And the truth is, and I think we've said this before too, we wouldn't want it to be any other way. I'm trying to say this in the most tzniistic way, but we want to have children. We want our husbands to be attracted to us. This is something that Hashem put in the world for a reason. It's not a bad thing. And that is a need for a man. It really, really is. And I have to tell you, in 2019, it's more of a need than ever before.
And we want to have children, and we want to have pleasure. I mean, sometimes children are a byproduct of that, and not always. And
it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
It's the holiest thing.
Exactly.
The holiest thing.
In the right way.
In the right way, at the right time. Right.
From home. So, we want everyone to have their needs met. And so I tell a girl, you're going to want him to stretch a little bit on the emotional communication, feeling side, and you're going to have to stretch a little bit on the look side, because this is what's important to you and this is what's important to him, and you're going to work together to make sure that both of your needs are being met. But that means on a first date, the first step that you take is you put on heels and you get your hair done and you put on makeup, or have someone teach you, or have someone guide you on what colors look good on you. And you present yourself as best as you can to make that great first impression. Now, is it true that people get married and they gain weight? Yes, it's true. And I believe that a woman should do the best that she can to try to maintain that attraction in her husband's eyes. But at that point, it's a little different because there's already a relationship in place. And so it is different than that first impression that is made. He already has that deep connection and respect, and you've built a home and had children and have shared memories and a life together. So he may be more forgiving about a few pounds, whereas on a first date, he doesn't really know you. All he knows is what he sees. And a man is very visual. That's why a man has a mitzvah to guard his eyes, where a woman doesn't have that mitzvah, because it is that area that allows him to be attracted to his wife, to build a family. It's like when, you know, when the Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah and Gilei Arayos got so out of control that the Gedolim davened that should be taken out of the world. So the Netiyah for Avodah Zarah was taken out of the world. And they davened really hard for it. But what happened was when they davened that the drive for Gilei Arayos be taken out of the world, you know what happened? People didn't have children, because it's the same, you know, spectrum.
Energy, right.
It's the same energy. It's all connected. So we want this to be used in a healthy way, in a proper way. And my mind is, if a guy sees a picture and he's not interested, just move on.
Move on.
Say next. And over time, a girl and a guy will learn that either they're getting a lot of no's, and there might be something they have to do about that, or they're going to find that one person that finds them attractive. And I know women who get married that are heavier and skinnier, younger and older, and I don't necessarily see a direct correlation. What I do see a correlation with is people that are happy, confident, and comfortable with themselves. That is extremely attractive. I have had many, many guys tell me, I want a positive person, a happy person, a girl who's comfortable with herself, not a girl who's like, oh, why am I as skinny as she, and she has nicer hair and she has prettier teeth. That's just not what a guy wants to hear. You know what beauty is? A woman that says, I'm beautiful inside and out. I'm a great catch, right? If you married a girl like me, you'd be doing really well, right? That's confidence. That's attractive. Confidence is beautiful. So that is something that our women need to work on. And unfortunately, we live in a society which tells us that we're not enough, and that's a separate problem. Right. But, you know, for this topic, I would just say, if someone does not find someone attractive, move on. It means this is not for you, and kind of leave it at that.
You know, this was so helpful, and I'm glad I asked the question, because it's one that I think I was reserved to ask it. You know, it's controversial. Is it going to hurt people's feelings? You know, those kinds of things. And I think I just love talking to you, and your wisdom is really spot on. And what I kept thinking as you were talking was, you know, we live in a very outside-in world where everything is like outside, 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 but really we're all living an inside experience. And we are going to be led to make changes and do things. I mean, there are things that, you know, I've had to face in my life, you know, just think, oh, wow, that's a hard truth, you know. And it might be that a hard truth for somebody is going to be around their physical, you know, their physical well-being. It could be that it's going to be about financial ways. It could be going to be about their patience. There's all sorts, and that's going to be something from the inside that I'll tell you, married or not, we need to be growing and changing, and always moving towards, you know, how can I serve Hashem? How can I serve Hashem, and removing the blocks that stand in the way from that oneness. So, and this might be for someone. And so it's just about asking ourselves the question, as opposed to, or knowing that it may come up for somebody, whether, you know, before you get married or after you get married. You know?
For sure. I just want to mention that balance in this area is very important. So, yes. Of course, looks is definitely a factor, and first impressions are important. But if someone finds themselves, you know, in the direction of an eating disorder, or completely obsessed with thinking that the only thing that matters is how they look and their clothes and their makeup, I have to tell you, I have many beautiful girls who don't have dates. And when I speak to the boys, they say, she's pretty, but that's about it. Like, I can't have a conversation with her. There's no depth there. She's not someone that I enjoy speaking to, because she's so wrapped up in herself. So we want balance. We want someone who, you know, yes, I take care of putting myself together in the best way possible, and then move on. And then let's get to know the real person behind that. That's not the only aspect of the person.
So I think that brings up another point. And, you know, as a therapist, I have my own take on this, my own feelings about this. But Miriam had sent in a comment here about that she was pursuing a shidduch for her very healthy weight granddaughter. And then when the boy said, you know, but if my wife gains weight after she has children, I'm going to make her go to the gym. You know, that's a red flag, you know, that kind of mentality. And so that spills into just the topic of mental health, and that sometimes it's important for a person to do some of their mental health work before they date, so that they're ready to date.
I always say, marriage is not a hospital. If you have things to take care of, make sure you take care of them before marriage, not during, because the only thing that marriage solves is being single. It does solve that. You won't be single anymore. But if you have issues before you're married, be it mental, emotional, psychological, or otherwise, the only thing you're going to do is bring two people into that. And it's
miracle grow. I say it's like relationship is miracle grow for any of your character flaws.
It just multiplies it. So take care of your stuff. Super important. Take care of your stuff. If you have two very happy, confident, well-adjusted, mature and developed people, you'll have two happy people who are mature and developed and happy. But I once had a client who was emotionally unstable, and I tried my best, but she married somebody emotionally unstable, and together they have a doubly emotionally unstable relationship. And there was very little I could do about it because she was not willing to get the help that she needed. So, there's only so much that you could do. Marriage is definitely not going to solve that. So yes, take care.
And I think, we're always reminded in this conversation, and I was reminded when you were talking earlier, and reminded again that like Hashem is in charge of this whole thing, the whole thing. The trials, the tribulations, how long it's going to take, who's going to say yes, who's going to say no. But we are involved in the process, but he's in charge.
So Hashem is in charge and will give us certain tests along the way, often to get messages that we need to take to heart and grow from and work towards moving ourselves forward in, right? So if we see those messages and it's kind of like the boat and the plane and the train, and we just ignore those messages, that's not helpful. Hashem's always in charge, but we have to take those steps. And so, that's our responsibility. You had said something about a woman having children, and I'm going to send her to the gym. So that just reminds me, whose phone is it? Oh, my husband, sorry. So it actually just reminds me that I often tell guys, we might want to focus more on your weight because it's less subject to change. If a woman gains weight, at least she had a baby. If you gain way too much, you know what I'm saying? At least she did something productive. She made a person,
Exactly.
So, yeah. All right. How about if we move on to the next question?
Yes. Okay. 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 This is one that I want to ask. So, should a girl be discussing with her friends, the boy she's dating, with her friends, parents, several mentors, rabbi, teacher, or like how much should she be disclosing to people? How many people to be involved in the process?
Okay. So, there are a few people that are important. So if she has a good relationship with her parents, I would encourage her to discuss things with her parents, especially if she respects the relationship that they had between each other, and, in some way, shape, or form would love to have a home like that or a relationship like that. I would definitely encourage her to speak to her parents. That's a good thing. But be careful, because when a girl shares every single detail of what happened on a date to parents, sometimes parents can get hung up on one little thing that a guy said or did. And even though it might have been a mistake or an immature comment, sometimes a parent won't let go. And then that kid gets married to this guy, and she's like, well, I remember that comment that you once made to my daughter on a date. So you want to be careful. Shmir Salashon still does count here. So unless it's something that you think will really help you bring clarity to your date, and maybe clarity to yourself, which is fine for you to share if you need guidance, just be careful that we're just not going and saying every single dumb thing that he might have said, because it might come back to haunt him and you, which is why it's helpful to speak to a mentor just a little bit outside of the picture, not as nogea b'davar, so to speak. And I would recommend that girls and guys not speak to their single friends about the decision-making process. So for instance, if you had a funny story that happened to you and I don't know, he took you to some restaurant and then he looked at the bill and then he realized it was too expensive, and 3-4 restaurants later, you kind of thinking this is kind of funny that this guy took you to 3 restaurants and he can't seem to figure out which one to take you to because they're all too expensive. So yeah, that's a funny story to share about something that once happened. But in terms of making a decision, or should I date him again, or what do you think about what he said, I would prefer that people stick to somebody who has been married and has more experience, a mentor, a therapist, a Rav, but be careful that we don't too freely exchange a Rav as a therapist, because a Rav is a Rav and he's very good for advice and halachic guidance,
Right.
but not always is every Rav well versed in what might be the best therapeutic advice and or the best dating advice. So just, if he has experience in dating, that's great. But if not, just you might want to find someone who has a little bit more experience in this area. But someone who's a little bit less directly involved and emotionally involved is always very helpful. Like I said, a coach, a therapist. I recommend people go to therapy. I focus on the dating coaching, but I do recommend people to go to therapy if they have other things that need to be worked out around, the dating situation.
We're a good partnership here.
Yeah.
We're a good partnership, dating coach and therapist, right?
Definitely. Now, therapy is super important. Take care of your stuff today, ladies and gentlemen. Today is the day. Actually, yesterday is better, but
right. I want to put a plug in for you. I want to put a plug in for you, by the way. I want to put a plug in to everybody for Rachel Burnham. She's really, as you can see, knows her stuff, both personally and professionally. I mean, you've worked with so many people at this point, and but also went through your own experience of dating for a long time. And so I really appreciate all that you do. And I believe we're doing a special webinar. You're doing a special webinar for girls that have been broken engagements, and that's going to be we're not going to be sending that out for people to just share the link. It'll be more of a
personal invite.
So if that is something that someone who has experience with a broken engagement, or you yourself have had a broken engagement, I would like to participate in that, you can let us know. Email me, chaya.parkoff@gmail.com, or rachel@dategreat.com. The 8s are the number 8. You can send questions, and then you can also let us know. I also have a WhatsApp chat broadcast where it's not a chat. I just send out, either of us can send out links to upcoming webinars, information, and recordings. And so if you want to be on that, let us know.
Alrighty.
But I appreciate all that you do. Okay. Okay, I have to ask this question because it's just, I see it come up all the time. So these labels that we have with, oh, he's modern machmir, he's modern yeshivish, she's yeshivish, she's this, she's that. How much weight do you put into that? How much blur is your experience been with that? I was speaking to someone who they're on one of the dating sites, YU Connect, Saw You at Sinai, which is a wonderful, wonderful site. And, and they had yeshivish and modern yeshivish checked off, but it was like, well, do you want to also have modern machmir? Because you're not really yeshivish, but you're not really modern. So I'm just curious what your thoughts and what your experience has been with that.
Okay. So there's a difference between the title that we put on a profile and how we describe somebody. So for instance, if I was looking into information for somebody, I would not ask for a label. I would ask for examples. So, okay, Yeshivish Shmana, can you give an example of what you mean like that by that? Well, he's the kind of guy who goes to Minyan every single day, but he might watch a movie and he wears colored shirts and he probably would go out to a baseball game with his friends, for example, let's say, right? So it gives you a sense, it gives you a sense of, are those things kind of in line with my goals and values or not? Right. Okay. So typically, most people waver between one or two labels. If you have to put a label on something, they'll waver between modern Orthodox, Machmir, and just kind of, modern Orthodox. Or they'll waver between Yeshivish and Yeshivish modern because they want to kind of keep that window open, so to speak. But what's most important is the examples and the goals and values that you both share. So for that, you need to ask some pointed questions. That's the job of research, to ask some pointed questions. So for instance, what type of school would this person send his children to? What type of, how careful is he about halacha? Is he shomer negia? That's a big one. And these are questions that you need to find out, because if I am shomer negia and he's not shomer negia, we should probably not be dating each other. You understand? Right. So it's more of a hashkafic, bigger picture as opposed to just titles and labels. So for a profile or resume, they usually make you tick off some kind of box, which is fine. People usually fall between one or two. But when you're doing research, you want to ask for A, examples, and B, get more of a flavor of what are their actual goals and values? What does that actually look like?
Love it. That's fabulous. That was just fabulous. Thank you. That really, really clarified things. Okay. What are basic expectations that a girl should have when going out with a boy? I.e., we might have talked about this question. I'm not sure. Remind me if we did this on a previous one, and we can skip to a different. But this is a real question that was asked by someone sent in. I.e., should he open the door for her, always pay for her, send her home on the train? Let's say, I don't know, he lives in Forest Hills and Kew Garden Hills, and she lives in Washington Heights, and they go out in Manhattan. Should he put her on a train? Should he send an Uber for her? Should he go on the train with her and then go back let's say he's not driving, let's say he's taking a train. What are some basic expectations where a girl said, I know, okay, anybody, just so you know, anyone out there, if you send your sons to my house, if they offer to take out the garbage, they've 1 point, right? Everyone knows, when they come to my house, as soon as a boy goes, Mrs. Parkoff, can I help you with something? Can I take out the garbage? I'm you've already passed my mensch test, So
you've kind of answered it yourself. So in my mind, honestly, it doesn't really matter. What does matter, and here's the thing that a girl should expect: respect, right? Being treated with dignity, with basic menschlichkeit. So for instance, instead of just throwing on a train home, what would make you feel more comfortable? Would you like me to get you an Uber? Would a train feel more comfortable? I'm glad to rent a car and drive you home. Does that make you feel more comfortable? What would make you feel safe? I know it's late at night. What would make you feel safe? So the actual mode of transportation doesn't matter, but the way that he goes about it does. And so at the end of the day, I don't really care if he opens the door or he doesn't open the door. I don't care if he does everything by the book, if he talks down to you, if he belittles things that you say or opinions that you have and isn't respectful. That's not okay. It's absolutely not okay. And I might have said this before, but my definition of respect is if my child turned out to be like this person, that would be a very happy / positive thought. Okay. So when I ask that question to people and they kind of well, yeah, not so sure, that's a problem. Right. When I hear people's oh yeah, totally. If my child turned out to be like this guy, that would be the greatest thing ever. So that's important for a person to hear themselves say, right? So you want to get that kind of feeling on a date. The actual details of what exactly happens. He might be immature. He might be wet behind the ears. He might not exactly know, the opening door, that he might not know all the, perfect rules. If he's a mensch and he's kind and he wants to learn and he wants to be, thoughtful, and take out your garbage, that's perfect. Right. That works.
Right.
I think that's,
and I want to say something that's really helpful, because everyone's different, we don't usually have live flowers in my house. Okay. Why? Because except for carnations, people in my house sneeze, right? Like it's so, whereas so if buying flowers for your wife is a thing that you have to do and it's the most important thing, well, then I guess I don't know. I guess I didn't hit the jackpot with my husband, right? Because we're not having flowers. So, whereas I hit the jackpot, right? I hit the jackpot. I know for me, I got the best one. Sorry, but I got the best one. So it's really not about the outsides again, right? It's about what you're comfortable with, what you negotiated with each other, what's right. I want to make a point. I love what you said about, the train, what would be most comfortable. I think it's really important also that if a boy, let's say, was going to put you on a train and you were not comfortable with that, to be able to say, I'm really not comfortable going on the train by myself. Could you get
a boy responding appropriately?
Exactly. Right.
Would an Uber feel more comfortable? Would a taxi?
Exactly. To ask for what you need. This is practice for marriage. Ask for what you need. And then see what the person says and advocate for yourself. And you know what, girls, when you're going out on a date, you should always have money with you. You should always have, you take care of yourself, So I think that I love that answer, that it's not about the right and the wrong. It's about what's important to you and what makes you feel good. And if something does rub you the wrong way, trust that, I would say. But also sometimes it's chatter about, well, you're supposed to have this, and that's where I think.
And also beware of the smooth talker, professional dater. Okay, so
please talk about this.
Or he'll take you to the nicest restaurant. He'll buy you, I don't know, your favorite dish. And maybe as dating goes on, he'll come to the door with flowers for Shabbos. He'll do everything right. But something about the way that he treats you is off, right? So for instance, I myself once dated somebody who did everything right, picked me up in the fanciest car, took me to the fanciest restaurant, and treated me, if you were an onlooker into the date, you'd be like, wow, you were treated so well, okay? And then he asked me, would you like some dessert? And I said, thank you so much, but I'm actually quite full. Now, I happen not to be a big, sugar person. So I said, thank you so much. I'm really quite full. I really appreciate your thoughtfulness, but thank you. To which he said, waiter, I will order her. She'll have this, and don't worry, she'll like it.
Wow.
And to that I said, I think it's probably about time to go home. So, he did everything right, but luckily I was able to catch that one piece that would really be a tremendous issue in a marriage, where like, I will tell you what to do and how, and you will listen and you will like it. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to respecting the fact that I said, I don't really want dessert, So those kinds of things, I find a lot of girls that I deal with get very swept up in the cool, charismatic, smooth talker. He did all the right things. He said all the right things. He wore the right outfit, suit, whatever. He's so good looking, but they're missing those nuances of the middos that are not refined, not in tune with another person, not respectful, not respecting your needs for whatever it is, space or something that you don't like. You need to look out for those things, because those are going to crop up, and that's where people find themselves later on in dangerous relationships.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Don't judge. Yeah, when you think people, let me tell you, from my side of from my chair, you look at people and you just think, oh, I wish my marriage was like that, or if only I. They're coming into my office, okay, with issues. So it's again, I think that's when we compare our insides with other people's outsides, where we often make a mistake. Okay, I want to ask you about this is a good one. This we talked about the other day that didn't get recorded, so we'll talk about it again.
We always do better take two anyway.
Don't we? We do. Okay. What happens when a younger sibling wants to start dating or get married before the
Yes. Okay. Yes. Well, Firstly, I'm going to speak about this from personal experience because although I was the oldest in my family, I was number 4 to get married. And so I know exactly how this felt. Mm-hmm. I will tell you how I handled it, and I will tell you how some of my clients have handled it. So I myself gave all of my siblings a very free pass to date whomever, whenever. My policy was, if you find him and he's the right one, just marry him. That's it. You find him, just take him and go. So I did not hold any of my siblings back, literally not for a day, to not date because of that. So my siblings always felt like, oh, you're amazing, you're this and that. I was like, listen, you know what? My name is Rachel. It's a Rachel Imenu gene. You know, Rachel Imenu did that for Leah. It's just a gene that I have. So I wouldn't exactly take responsibility for it or credit for it. It's just kind of one of those genes that you get. Plus, the more important thing is that I never felt that if my siblings got married before me that they were taking my spouse.
Right.
They were taking what was meant for them. And why would I want to have them go through the pain of waiting as long as I had to wait? You know, if you find him, get married, move on. That's great. Don't worry. You know, my brother-in-laws are wonderful, but I didn't want to marry them. So I was very happy to see everyone move on and not have to go through what I went through. And Baruch Hashem, at the right time, when it was the right time for me, you know, it all came together and it happened. So that I think is most important. I think it's a little bit of an old-fashioned custom that many people have let go of as of recent. Okay. But I have worked with people that have waited years for their siblings to get married. And it's extremely painful and very sad because not only is the sibling not married, but they're also not married. So instead of having one single, you've got multiple singles. And I've dealt with, you know, multiple siblings or twins and they're waiting for this one single to get married. And there's a lot of pressure on that single to just get married because a lot is weighing on that. Like, just let everyone else go. So I really feel that it's important that people have enough confidence to realize that when the right person is supposed to be there for them, it will happen to them. Move on. Don't feel like this is any reflection of who you are. You will find the right person. And one of the ways that I felt was helpful to me when dealing with that is to get myself very involved. I was involved in planning the l'chaim and making the vart and helping my siblings with all the shopping and the shaitels and the gowns. And it gave me purpose and it made me feel like I was part of it and not like, we'll let you know when the wedding starts kind of thing. So if you want to make that older single feel good, include them in the decisions and the plans and the running around shopping, and it makes them feel like they have a place, and that's very helpful until it's their right time.
And it should be a schus, for them as well, like sharing in the joy, with chesed and kala. Sure. I think that it reminds me of something that's really important. First of all, I think possibly more than the girls. I mean, we tend to sway towards girls here, but could be a boy also. But let's just say the the person who's single, right? So I think this is really something that parents need to hear, because sometimes it's well, what are they going to think if my Malka didn't get married yet? We can't now marry, or we have to let go.
It also gets complicated when you have a boy who's getting lots of suggestions.
Yes.
An older girl who's getting none.
And
it gets complicated. Right. Nobody is taking anyone's shidduch. Everyone has a shidduch. There's enough for everyone to go around. We just have to be patient. And honestly, it ties into Amunah. Like, we have to believe.
Exactly. That was my point.
And not think that if my sister gets married before me, that she's taking something that I could have had. If your sister gets married before you, she's taking what she needs to have.
She's what she needs.
It might not have worked for you, so don't fret.
And like you've said, and we've talked about maybe on at least maybe on a couple of maybe the first 2 webinars that we did, is some people need to get married young, right, so that they can grow up with their spouse and that's how they accomplish and reach their potential. That's the path that has to happen for them. And some people have to do some growing on their own so that they can become the person who then gets married so that they can reach their potential. And so if it happens to be that your sister, who's younger than you, is the one that has to get married, for her to reach her potential has to get married young, and you are the older one, but for you to reach your potential, you have to get married a little bit older, the numbers aren't going to match up if you have to do it in order. So I think that has
not a race. It's not a
Hashem's
race.
order is much better than our order, even though we think ours is better.
It's not a race, it's a journey. It's a journey, and each person is really on their own path. So for instance, you know, I just hit this milestone this week where the first girl in my high school class had a daughter who got engaged.
Wow.
And so that was like a big milestone for my high school class. Like, I've got little babies, and this mother who just is making a vart for her daughter just had a baby. Okay. So we just hit this point where we've got the first class wedding, and I am really far from making any kind of wedding. I'm really far from making any kind of bar mitzvah. So and that's okay. And it doesn't matter, because that is wonderful, and I'm so happy for them, but that's not my path, and it's not my journey, and that's not what I needed to go through. And so each person needs to be able to be comfortable and say that for themselves. It's not about how early you got married and how many children you have, but it's about the life that you make with the tools and gifts that you were given. And so if we can really internalize that, and it could often be an avoda, but if we can really internalize that, then we can be ultimately happy in every stage of life. Not, you know, I'll be happy when I get married, when I have kids, when I have more kids, when they move out of the house, when I have grandchildren. You know, this is unfortunately a very common.
You know, that is, and with Purim coming up, that is actually, I think it's Rebbe Mizrahi that talked about, I don't know the quote exactly and the pasuk exactly, but apparently Haman uses a word he uses a word that only can spell haya and yihiyeh, but it doesn't spell hoveh. It doesn't spell now, right here. And Hashem, with the word for Hashem, you can spell haya and yihiyeh. You can have everything, past, present, and future. But in this word that Haman uses, it's only the past or it's only the future, right? So I should have, I could have, if only. That's not helpful, and it's an illusion. And guess what? You can't go back. And then what if in the future, and that also, and it can bring fear, it can bring depression, it can bring all sorts of Amalek, really, you know, which it really isn't. So we have to stay away from that right here, right now. I'm just going to share a sobering story, which is that today, part of the work I do is I work in palliative and hospice care. And I was with a woman today who's 54 years old, 2 years older than me, and had a sore throat in November, and was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, a very rare lung cancer. The oncologist has never seen it before. Chemotherapy is not working. And I was the one, you know, having a conversation with her today about where do we go from here? Wow. And, you know, what really struck me, very often I deal with older people, but when I'm with someone young, usually older people are more resolved with, you know, I've lived a long life, I've accomplished a lot. But when someone's young, and by the way, 54 is young, very young. People in their 70s are young. Like I'm talking about when they're in their 90s, you know, and 80s and late 80s and 90s, they feel like, okay, maybe if now's the time, I'm okay with it. But, you know, she was like, I'm not ready. I have so much to do. And I thought, wow. And I said to her, I go, you know, this is really the reality for everybody. You just, in a way, have a gift of knowing that you don't want to waste any moments. She's getting, that's a gift, because we walk around like, oh, if I don't do it today, I'll do it. If I don't say I love you to my husband today, you know, I'll say it tomorrow. If I don't hug my kid today, I'll hug them tomorrow. Who knows? We don't know. Now, you're not supposed to, you don't have to go through life in fear of that. It's like, oh my God, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. It's not that, but it is the reality. Right. The reality is we have right now. And what am I doing with my right now? And that, I think that includes, I think it's important to say that if you're not dating someone and you're single, to live your life right now. Like my daughter is 24 and she's like, I'm like, happy mom, you know, like she's living her life. She's enjoying her life. She volunteers for more and she does this, she does that. Like she has a life. Does she want to be married? Absolutely. but she's also living her life. And I think it's important to do that.
It's super important. It's also super attractive because when you meet someone in that kind of state, it's not like, I can't be happy until, no, I'm a happy person. And I also happen to be single. And when I find that right person, then we will build something together. But until then, I am living my life the way that I should. And that's super healthy. Super, super healthy.
I think the theme of tonight, and I guess we'll wrap up now. The theme of tonight is it's an inside job. It's an inside job. Your happiness is an inside job.
And unfortunately, people are looking for relationships and marriage to solve what we really need to solve from the inside. I'd like to just end with like one little mushal, so to speak. So the mitzvah talks about a mitzvah as a moment in time where we have an opportunity. And after that moment, you will never have that opportunity in that exact moment to grab that mitzvah. And so you might grab it, you might not. And there might be a mitzvah available to you before and after. But in that specific moment at 10:30 on a Wednesday night, that's the only opportunity that you have. And you either take it or leave it, right? And so I think the same kind of works for dating. There are guys and girls that come up. And sometimes we had opportunities that we passed up and maybe we shouldn't have, and we might have more in the future. But at that exact moment, we have decisions to put our best foot forward, to make the most of that dating experience, to say yes or no to the person that's being presented in front of us. And we can't beat ourselves up for the potentially bad mistakes that we made in the past or what might be in the future. We have to focus on making the best choices for what we have in front of us at this exact moment, being the most positive, happy, confident, presenting ourselves in the best way that we can for right now. And the next moment, we'll deal with the next moment. But we can't stress about the past and everything that didn't happen then, or stress about what could or couldn't happen in the future, because that won't allow us to accomplish all the things that we need to accomplish in this exact moment. So thank you for joining us tonight. And please send your questions into Chaya at Chaya Parkoff.
Oh, okay. And I have some questions here that I'll add to our list for next time.
Okay, we've got a running list of questions, so we've got no lag. So please
send out the dates for the next webinar when we book it on our calendars. And again, if you want to get on that WhatsApp broadcast, you can email me, chaya.parkoff@gmail.com or rachel@dategreat.com, which is the 8s are the number 8.
Also focus on, general dating questions here. If anyone is interested in speaking to me privately,
yes,
you can call me privately, contact me privately at Rachel, RACHEL, at dategreat.com, D8GR8.com, and I'd be glad to set something up.
All right, awesome.
All righty.
Everybody should have a wonderful Purim.
Yes,
I'm not sure
for
that
sure.
we'll be before them. And okay, take care.
All righty.
Thank you for joining us.
Bye-bye.